Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. The title of this video is Thai Visas Is or Is Not, There Is No Why. And I'm making this video because, well, first of all, what am I referencing? Well, a pop cultural reference to Star Wars. There's a line where Luke Skywalker is being instructed by Yoda, and Luke's sort of exhausted, and Yoda tells him he needs to do something. And Luke says, I'll try. And Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. In this context, we're using the term Thai visas is or is not. There is no why for a reason. Well, the reason for this is I get a lot of people that ask me, well, why are they doing it like this? Why are they doing it like that? In some circumstances, that's a valid question. And I want to be clear with this video. It's not wrong to ask why necessarily. What folks are often presuming, and I think it's a presumption that although on one level is reasonable and my answer may initially seem counterintuitive, it's controlling on the situation as it actually is. So people ask me a lot, why are they doing it this way? Why is this the policy? Why is my visa going to expire because of this mechanism being triggered? You know, all sorts of hypotheticals I could throw out. I'm not going to do that. But in certain circumstances, the why might exist. There may be a reason for why they are implementing a certain policy or why a regulation reads the way it does and results in the practical implication of the practical enforcement falling a certain way. Sometimes there is no why. The rules were written, and the rules are the way that the rules are. Often, I find with immigration, it's not unlike tax. Sometimes they just have to set down a rule in order to get on with the process of maintaining people's lawful status here in Thailand. So I'm not saying that a rule is necessarily arbitrary, but what I'm saying is sometimes it just needs to be fixed. This is going to be the rule. This is how we're going to deal with it. And they move on. Now, again, we may disagree with the rule, but getting into a sort of massive analysis of the why of certain rules here in the Thai visa apparatus, I think it's counterproductive oftentimes. Sometimes it's useful, especially if you're doing an analysis of your situation and you determine that, okay, this is, for example, why are yellow house books, so yellow Tebian bonds in Thailand, why don't they have any bearing on the TM30 address reporting requirements? And we made a video on that in the past. Why don't they interact? Well, they don't interact because the rule that brought forth yellow Tebian bonds, specifically the Civil Registration Act, it doesn't have anything to do with the Immigration Act. They're two different bodies of law. And it's important to understand that distinction because it's two different ministries or two different government agencies that have two different purposes. So in the case of yellow Tebian bonds, the purpose is recordation of addresses of people here in Thailand, basically from almost a vital statistics record-keeping standpoint. Meanwhile, Thai immigration's function is to monitor and enforce Thai immigration law or the law as it pertains to foreigners here in the Kingdom of Thailand. They just operate differently. They operate to two different ends. Yes, it could be streamlined. I can see people's argument that perhaps streamlining those two things would be a good idea or linking together those systems, but they just aren't. And yes, the why is interesting, but as far as a practical, does it help you in your life to understand that? It might, because there are a lot of people that assume or presume that, for example, being in a yellow house book, I did at one time presume that being in a yellow house book meant that you didn't have to file things like TM30 or 90-day reports. But the fact is that notwithstanding that, you do. Or depending on your circumstances, you may have to. The reason I'm making this video is so people sort of understand, yeah, you can ask why, but sometimes it's going to be an exercise in frustration for you, and it's also going to be a bit, I hesitate to say counterproductive, but it's kind of like spinning your wheels. It just doesn't really get you anywhere to understand why something is the way that it is. Certain immigration offices do things a certain way. For example, documentation requirements or the way that documentation is collated may differ from immigration office to immigration office. And they are making those rules for expedience within their jurisdiction. They've just found a certain practice operates more smoothly within their office. There isn't a real why past that. It's just they're used to doing it a certain way, and they're going to do it that certain way. And really trying to get into an analysis of why Samui immigration does or Suratani immigration does things differently than Bangkok immigration versus Hua Hin immigration or Chiang Mai immigration, it's kind of an exercise in futility. It's not going to do you a lot of good to try and examine that. And I've had people email me with rather long emails, trying to analyze the difference in office styles and the way that, somebody moved from Bangkok to Chiang Mai and the way this office does things differently and how this all works. Okay, you know how they work differently, and as a practical matter, that comparative analysis may be beneficial, especially with respect to, where you currently live and understanding they're not doing something that you're used to having done in your prior immigration office. But getting into really super detailed nitpicking over the difference from office to office and the way that immigration does things here in Thailand, I really don't think it's particularly beneficial for anyone to undertake that kind of analysis.